In this hour of holy stillness, we gather to honor the lives of people we love. In this hour of holy stillness, we remind ourselves that the flames of life and love are never fully extinguished. In this hour of holy stillness, we offer ourselves for sharing the weight of one another's grief. In this hour of holy stillness, we offer the strength of our love to help others survive their pain and their suffering. In this hour of holy stillness, we call forth from each of us the power we offer out of love, out of loss. Come, let's worship together. I now invite the Simeone family to come forward and light our chalice for us. And your part, you folks in the pews and you folks at home, if you remember, we should send you out the words again, the part in bold. So we'll do this like a well-oiled machine, sorta. Yeah.
Let this flame be to us a symbol of the wholeness we seek.
Its brightness dispelling gloom, lighting a path to faith and hope.
Its glow reminding us of the sacred bonds that link us to all living things.
Its radiance calling us to cast the light of freedom, justice, and peace upon all the world. Thank you. And they'll be back up in just a moment. So whoever you are, wherever you are in your spiritual journey, for this 1 hour, you're part of this congregation, this community of faith, and you are welcome. It's wonderful to have all you folks here in the house, and we have lots of folks also joining us on Zoom today. So we are one big family in 2 different places, and that's all okay. Is there anyone here who's joining us for the first time? And if so, if you're comfortable rising and introducing yourself, we'll give you a warm First Parish welcome. Not required, but is there anyone here for the first time who'd like to say hello? And anyone returning back to us after a little bit of being away, Ensign Connor, stand up so everyone can say hi to Justin. He's home for a few weeks, and it's great to have you in the house. Super. I remind us all that we're going to have coffee hour back through these doors here after worship. And one other announcement that I have is about next week. So the Envision the Meeting House for the 21st Century Task Force has been meeting for a long time. How long have we been meeting, Jim? It feels like a long time. 2 years? Okay, that's a long time. Of course, COVID was kind of in the middle of that. And I'm sure that you are familiar with this. Hopefully you're familiar with this initiative by this point. We've got those 5 questions that maybe, hopefully you have answered in one way or another, either in person or online. So next weekend is a very exciting weekend for us. Our consultant, Scott Taylor, will be joining us. He's been helping the team all the way through this. And finally, you're all going to get to meet him. The schedule is almost set for Scott's visit. He'll come in on Friday night and kind of just chill a little bit, and he's staying in the Simeone's dancing barn. That sounds really exciting. When I told him that this week, he was like, really? He's a farm, he has horses. He lives on a horse farm, so that was like, woo! And then on Saturday, he'll be having breakfast with the Envision the Meeting House team. And on Saturday afternoon from 4 to 6, I fully expect that our tent will be out on the front lawn, and we will be having a wine and cheese gathering where you can just kind of all just say hi to each other, but also get to meet Scott in a less formal way, and maybe start some conversation with him about the initiative, and he can answer some questions. And then on Sunday, he'll be here in the pulpit with me, and we will be having a workshop, a hybrid workshop for both folks in-house and folks on Zoom immediately following worship. And it's not going to be too long. I think we're talking an hour and a half, 2 hours at the most. So real important weekend next weekend. I hope you can put it on your calendar. It's the kind of the launch, the next phase of this initiative about how we see our sacred space moving into the 21st century. So on that note, we have our final testimonial from the Simeone family. I invite you to come forward and offer your testimonial. Emily.
Good morning. My name is Emily Simeone, and I'm here to talk to you today on behalf of my family, my husband PJ, who serves on the Social Justice and Finance Committees, and my children Johanna and Maymay, who are part of our RE program. We've been coming to First Parish for over 5 years now and have been members for the majority of that time. I currently serve as the RE chair, and I'm also on the Envisioning the Sanctuary Committee. For those of you who may not know, I'm Jewish and grew up in a conservative temple in New York. PJ grew up in a congregational church in Plimpton. We specifically chose to become UUs when we had our children because neither of our religions resonated with us any longer. I've been thinking a lot about the sanctuary in the broader context of the church's mission and strategy for growth. If the goal is to bring more people into the church so that they can explore being a UU, be a part of our community, and go forth as a blessing to the world, as Catherine says, then we must ask, is the sanctuary helping us achieve this goal? The RE committee focuses a lot of energy on how to bring in new families to our program. It's an imperative. It must happen so that we will survive and thrive into the future. As the RE chair and someone who has really immersed herself in supporting and building this community of families, this is particularly important to me. So I think a lot about what I believe are a critical group of people, the people who have not yet had the UU experience. How can we ensure that the people who are not here yet will feel welcome and engaged and excited to explore being UU? When a new person or a family walks through those doors, there's a reason they've decided to give us a try. I'd venture to say that most have had some sort of experience in organized religion, and if they found First Parish, they're looking for something different. This is what happened with my family. The physical space 100% makes the first impression, and currently, we send a mixed message. Newcomers who expect a non-denominational environment may be confused or disappointed with an overtly Christian sanctuary. As a Jewish UU, there are multiple aspects of the sanctuary that are uncomfortable for me, and I think there may be others that feel the same way. And if our congregants, visitors, and guests cannot fully access their spiritual experience, then we have failed. And it is important to acknowledge this and do better. We have the hard job of creating a sacred space for everyone. Atheists, agnostics, Jews, Muslims, Christians, and everybody in between, including our children. They all need to feel that they can build a spiritual home here, that they can worship here, that they can grow here. Our sanctuary reflects one tradition only. I believe that our sanctuary is miscommunicating our mission, which states in part that we are here to, quote, nurture individual spiritual journeys. Let's live into this mission. Thank you.
Thanks, Emily. So, my friends, this is, of course, well, it's actually Halloween. And we are going to have our altar of remembrance ceremony in just a moment, but let's take a few seconds just to turn around and greet one another, maybe say Happy Halloween, of course, behind your mask, but take a few minutes to look around and give a wave to all those who've come in. And Dustin, will you unmute our friends on the remote Zoom platform, and you all can say Happy Halloween to one another. Happy Halloween. So great when
Happy
Halloween.
Hello, everybody.
Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween.
Happy
everybody.
Halloween.
Good morning. Happy Halloween.
So we can see our Zoom friends up here too saying Happy Halloween to us. We're trying to work this hybrid thing out. All right, super, super. So now we have our altar of remembrance, and this ritual, which we've done for many, many years, is a time when you are invited to come forward. You'll come into that aisle over there and to light a candle, and I'll hand you the microphone, and you can say the name of someone who you loved and lost that you're thinking about this morning, or you can light the candle in silence. It's up to you. But we will have our traditional altar of remembrance. So I'll begin. I'm thinking of Jackie Smith Miller this morning. I think of her a lot. We certainly miss her from our beloved community.
I'm thinking this morning of Bill Chute, who just died this past week at the age of 100.
Bill Shute, we actually put his contact information for his family in the bell ringer if you would like to send something to the family. We have new candles and a new wick, so be gentle with yourself. It takes a few moments to do this.
Today, we're thinking of my brother, Matt Simeone, who died January of 2020. We miss him and we love him. Hold him in your thoughts.
When I was little, I had a dog named Shanti, and she was really sick when my mom had the twins, and then we had to give her away to a vet, and right now she died.
We're thinking of Shanti. Do you want to light a candle? So the ones we love can be four-legged or two-legged.
I'm remembering my sister Donna, who died 3 months ago of COVID.
My grandmother's two very different women, but very strong.
I am remembering my dear friend Diane, who was my partner in crime for over 30 years.
I'm remembering my dad, whose birthday is November 1st. He would have been 94.
I'm remembering my grandparents, June Schweitzer and Walter G. Schweitzer.
I'm remembering my husband, Ed, who's been gone many years, but not forgotten, and also Parker. for our son, Jim Chrisman, who is remembered every day.
Marguerite Campbell Gardner, who was my father's first wife and probably the person who loved me more than anyone besides my mom.
I'm thinking of my mother and father, Bob and Wanda Hamilton.
I'm thinking of my parents, both Helen and Alan Southard, who are big members of this church and a part of our community for many years.
Today, I'm remembering my mom, who passed away almost 20 years ago.
So now we invite the folks on Zoom. Can you put us on gallery view, Dustin, and we'll see if there's anyone on Zoom who would like to share. There we go. So if you would like to light a virtual candle for someone you're remembering today, just hold your hand up in front of your face and I will call on you. So Judy Vos, who are you remembering today? And unmute yourself. Unmute yourself. Unmute.
Okay.
Oh.
I'm remembering a wonderful young, she was born in 71. She was a therapist. And she was in the Norwell office and she died of COVID a couple of weeks ago.
Oh dear. Thank you, Judy.
And
What is her name?
Her name is Kelly Tweedy. Kelly Tweedy. And
We'll
yeah, she
remember
was
her today.
Yeah, thank you.
So let's go back to gallery and we'll see who else. Jackie McClellan, who are you remembering today? Unmute yourself.
I'm unmuted. Thank you for this wonderful opportunity. I'm remembering my husband, Jim, who was a wonderful dad, father, and husband, and my parents and all those in my family that have gone before me. I wish that all of you today remember those with sweethearts and parents and children that have passed.
Thank you, Jackie. It's good to see you. Karen Sankey?
Yes, I'm thinking of my best friend growing up, Ann Briggs, who died earlier this year after a really long struggle with cancer, and also Mark Dene and Jim Savicki.
Yes, members of our community, thank you for lifting up their names. Selden?
I'm remembering my father, David Wells, who introduced me to UU years ago. It just took me too long to join you all, but I'm glad I'm here now. And I'm also remembering my dear friend, Maggie Falcone's boyfriend, who was just 23 and died a couple months ago of COVID, even though he was double vaxxed.
Thank you, Selden. Thank you. Anyone else? Sherry Gardner?
I'm remembering my sister Mary and my youngest brother Pat, who died just this past January.
Yes, and there I see you have Claudette with you.
Claudette?
Claudette?
I'd like to remember Linda Miller, who has been a member of this church until she passed 2 years ago.
Absolutely. We all think of Linda. Isn't technology amazing? I don't. So Sherry's holding Claudette, who's in Pennsylvania. This is great. Anyone else who is thinking of someone today? Just raise your hand. I think we've got all the beloveds. Wonderful. So our reading are words by Warren Zevon. He was one of my favorites when I was younger. And he was diagnosed with cancer somewhere in the early 2000s or something. And he really knew his path was very short. And he wrote the song. Alex is going to play it for us in a moment, but I wanted you to hear some of the lyrics. Shadows are falling, and I'm running out of breath. Keep me in your heart for a while. If I leave you, it doesn't mean I love you any less. Keep me in your heart for a while. When you get up in the morning and you see that crazy sun, keep me in your heart for a while. There's a train leaving nightly called When All Is Said and Done. Keep me in your heart for a while. Sometimes when you're doing simple things around the house, maybe you'll think of me and smile. You know, I'm tied to you like the buttons on your blouse. Keep me in your heart for a while.
Shadows are falling, and I'm running out of breath. Keep me in your heart for a while. If I leave you, it doesn't mean I love you any less. Keep me in your heart for a while. When you get up in the morning and you see that crazy sun, train leaving nightly call when all is said and done. Keep me in your heart for a while. Sha-la-la-la-la-la-la-la. Keep me in your heart for a while. Sometimes when you're doing simple things around the house, maybe you'll think of me and smile. You know I'm tied to you like the buttons on your blouse. Keep me in your heart for a while. Hold me in your thoughts, take me to your dreams. Touch me as I fall into view. When the winter comes, keep the fires lit, and I will be right next to you. Engine drivers heading north to Pleasant Street. keep turning, but they're running out of steam. Keep me in your heart for a while. Sha la 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 lo. Keep me in your heart for a while. Sha la 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 lo. Keep me in your heart for a while.
Thanks, Alex. You actually sound a little like Warren Zevon. So right now it's time for our young people you're going that way, and Alex has a song for you as you leave.
I see killer clowns, vampires too. I see a knife that's all covered in goo. And I scream to myself, what a frightening world. I see ghostly hues and vampire bats, Dracula's bride, and Mr. Filch's cat. And I scream to myself, what a frightening world.
Stop the clocks. Cut off the telephone. Prevent the dog from barking with the juicy bone. Silence the pianos and with muffled drum, bring out the coffin. Let the mourners come. Let airplanes circle moaning overhead, scribbling in the sky the message, he is dead. Put crepe bows around the white necks of the public doves. Let the traffic policemen wear black cotton gloves. He was my north, my south, my east, and my west, my working week, my Sunday rest, my noon, my midnight, my talk, my song. I thought that love would last forever. I was wrong. The stars are not wanted now. Put out every one. Pack up the moon, dismantle the sun, put away the ocean and sweep up the wood. For nothing now can ever come to any good. My spiritual friends, the poet has captured so purely the stark reality of losing someone who we love. The loss of the physical presence of our beloved is so difficult for us to comprehend. One moment they're here, the next moment they're not. And so often our first reaction to the death of a loved one is this sort of numb denial. And then, as the author Antoine Saint-Exupéry says, bit by bit, it comes over us that we shall never again hear the laughter of our friend, that this one garden is forever locked against us, and at that moment begins our true mourning. My friends, every year the season of autumn reminds us that life is so fragile, that nothing gold can stay, that life and loss are inevitable. There's always some letting go in living. Look around, especially after the storm, so many of the leaves are gone. As our friend Mary Oliver says, and I often turn to this poem at this time of year, look, the trees are turning their own bodies into pillars of light and giving off the rich fragrance of cinnamon and fulfillment. The long tapers of cattails are bursting and floating away over the blue shoulders of the ponds. Every year, everything I have ever learned in my lifetime comes back to this. To live in this world, you must be able to do three things: to love what is mortal, to hold it against your bones, knowing your own life depends on it, and when the time comes, to let it go, to let it go. Autumn reminds us that it is the nature of things that someday we and everyone we love will die. In some religious traditions, there's a strong belief in a particular life after death, some sort of reunion perhaps with the deceased. And these believers no doubt take great comfort in that theology. But for many Unitarian Universalists, the notion of an afterlife is not quite as certain. We may not be quite as certain about a reunion after death. And so when someone we love dies, we wonder, does our loved one still belong to us in any way, and we to them? My spiritual friends, the death of a loved one shakes up our world to the core, doesn't it? We're angry, sad, scared, and often all at the same time. Grief can sometimes make us crazy. But one thing we know for sure is that grief is our natural human response to loss. I've been in parish ministry for a little over 20 years now, and there's a few things I say at almost every celebration of life that I have done over that period of time. Like the celebration of life I did for Al McLaughlin on Friday, a neighbor of Jean Baker. and a friend of hers. I always say this: there is nothing in life that brings greater sorrow than the loss of someone we love, someone whose absence leaves a painful void in our lives. There is no reason why we should conceal our sadness and our grief. It is the purest and most natural expression of our common humanity. My friends, whether we're ready for it or not, the process of grief happens. It's different for each person and for each loss, and grief is never linear or predictable or even logical at times. And there's one more thing about grief. The loss we are grieving really never goes away. We can never delete it entirely from the story of our lives, can we? One of the most difficult parts of learning to live after loss is learning and accepting that no matter how full life may be, a wonderful life may lie before you, but the pain of that loss will never totally disappear. It's just a fact. So I say that thing about loss at every memorial service, every celebration of life, but I also say these words. And over the years, I can't tell you how many times folks have come up to me after a celebration of life and said these words really were meaningful and helpful. I say this: we can never fill the void left by our loved ones passing, but against this great loss, we can make this one claim: love never ends. Death might end a life, but not a relationship. Whatever we have known and loved is ours. Whatever we have loved becomes a part of us, interfused with our lives, blended with our minds and our memory, part of our soul. And so our beloved lives on in all the ways he or she or they touched and influenced our lives, and all our tender memories in our eternal love. So my friends, the spiritual task after losing someone we love is not about filling the void left by the loss. How could we ever fill up a space left by someone or something so dear to us? Rather, it's about folding those losses into our hearts and into our everyday existence. It's about moving from a heavy sense of loss to a more tender-hearted feeling of gratitude for all that was shared and all that was experienced together. You see, the relationship goes from being something we have with a beloved who's in front of us and talks with us to a relationship with someone who's inside of us. At that celebration of Al's life on Friday, his daughter Jan offered these words, this quotation from Helen Keller: "What we once enjoyed and deeply loved, we can never lose, for all that we love becomes part of us." All that we love becomes part of us. My friends, there's another Mary Oliver poem that I thought of this morning. It's entitled Fall Song. Another year gone, leaving everywhere its rich, spiced residues, vines, leaves, the uneaten fruits crumbling damply in the shadows, unmattering back from the particular island of this summer. This now, that now is nowhere, except underfoot, moldering in that black subterranean castle of unobservable mysteries, roots and sealed seeds, and the wanderings of water. This I try to remember when time's measure painfully chafes. For instance, when autumn flares out at the last, boisterous, and like us, longs to stay. This I try to remember. How everything lives, shifting from one bright vision to another, forever in these momentary pastures. How everything lives, shifting from one bright vision to another. These words of Mary Oliver remind us that even as things die around us, everything lives, shifting from one bright vision to another, forever in these momentary pastures. My friends, that's what physics tells us about all material life, isn't it? From the Big Bang onward, no atom has been lost. No atom has been gained, but no atom has been lost. All of them have been in the process of continual change. When I was in seminary, I studied a lot about grief, and I learned that the heart of grief is the most difficult challenge about it is not the letting go of those who died, but instead making the transition from loving in presence to loving in separation. And one of the writers I like the best, his name was Thomas Adig, says this: consciously remembering those who have died is the key that opens up our hearts, that allows us to love them in new ways. The more our remembering, the more effectively we reconnect with the reality and the meaning of their lives, which death can never cancel. I'm going to read that again. The more our remembering, the more effectively we reconnect with the reality and the meaning of their lives, which death can never cancel. As we remember what we love about those who have died, we welcome them back into our lives, even though we're apart. Shadows are falling, and I'm running out of breath. Keep me in your heart for a while. If I leave you, it doesn't mean I love you any less. Keep me in your heart for a while. When you get up in the morning and you see that crazy sun, keep me in your heart for a while. There's a train leaving nightly called When All Is Said and Done. Keep me in your heart for a while. Sometimes when you're doing those simple things around the house, maybe you'll think of me and smile. You know, I'm tied to you like the buttons on your blouse. Keep me in your heart for a while. My spiritual friends, the message of this morning is really simple. Death ends a life, but not a relationship. Let's be honest about death. Let's not pretend that it's less than it is. It is separation, it is sorrow, it is loss. But let's not pretend that death is more than it is. It is not annihilation. As long as memory endures, our loved one's influence will be felt. Death is not an end to love. I close with this poem by Laura Gilpin called Life After Death. These things I know, how the living go on living and how the dead go on living with them. So that in a forest, even a dead tree casts a shadow, and the leaves fall one by one, and the branches break in the wind, and the bark peels off slowly, and the trunk cracks, and the rain seeps in through the cracks, and the trunk falls to the ground, and moss covers it. And in the spring, the rabbits find it, and they build their nest inside the dead tree, so that nothing is wasted in nature and in love. Friends, maybe those we've loved and lost are nearer to us than we realize. Maybe love is vaster than the limits of our understanding. I believe that it is. I believe that the ones we've loved and lost are still with us in so many ways, and that the lives they lived hold us steady and that their words and deeds remind us and call us back to ourselves, and that their courage and their love evoke our own, always. We, the living, carry them with us. We are their voices, their hands, their hearts. We still belong to them, and they to us. Amen. It's interesting. I think sometimes the loved ones we have lost come back to us when we see something in a movie or hear a song, and that song always reminds me of my husband, David. He's been gone 11 years, and I don't know if y'all remember, but all through the fall when he was ill, I still worked, and but in February of 2010, he became very ill, and I knew I had to leave. the church, my church work for a bit. Turned out to only be a week. He died a week later. But I did a service, and the last song was Abide With Me, and you all sang it, and I knew I couldn't stay to say hello, so I left after the first verse, and I heard it as I was making my way to my car. It's a real special song to me. Thank you, Billy. Until we meet again, may you be blessed. Now go be a blessing to the world. Happy Halloween. Beautiful sun out there.